Namaste, all the viewers. Today on my YouTube series, I have invited Dr. Hema Hari. She is a software person in past and now turned researcher and academician and a wonderful speaker. And Bharat Gyan is her identity. So I happened to see her information on Twitter through Mahurkar sir, and I was really fascinated to see that someone who is working on the research of Rama and Krishna way beyond that a common person can think of, like me. For me, those two are God. I worship them day and night, and I have my big wish list, which I always ask for, and that's all was my knowledge limited. So I thought, let me talk to Dr. Hema Hari ma'am and understand what is that Bharat Gyan all about, and also what is that they want to research on, and their success story, of course. Also, what is that they are doing through various medium they are using. They have written books, they have made documentaries, they are giving speeches all over. Also, they have been invited quarterly by various governments to do research on various subjects. I wanted to know what do they know about Dhanushya Koti bridge, what do they know about the hidden treasure of Dwarka, and so on. So let us speak to Dr. Hema Hari. Let me tell you, Hemaji, when I wanted to send a formal invite about this session, I wanted to search a photograph to put in the formal invitation. And I always found the companion together and struggled to get an independent photograph of yours. And I really want to emphasize that fact that this is what is mean by teamwork and this is what is mean by companion. Because Hema Hari and Hari sir both together in all the pictures, all the videos, all the information that I tried to gather. So really big round of applause on that part. And we will open up. That's the reason I thought if he joins, I would definitely welcome him as well. It's an honor to have you on the show, ma'am. So let us begin with our first question. I would not say question, it's a dialogue and it's two-way. I want to hear more from you than me asking question because you have lots and lots to tell, I know. And we have a time crunch, so we'll see to it that we speak as well as the audience gets a window to talk to you. That's how we'll go about it. How did the Bharat Gyan idea crop, ma'am?
Good. First, before I answer your question, I would like to thank you for inviting me to be on your show. And namaskar and pranam to all the people who are on the show. I can see Yamuna ji, who is quite elderly also. So my namastes to you. And it is actually a very rare session because, we hardly okay, Hari has done some alone here and there because I would have been busy with something, but I very rarely have given sessions on my own unless it's been an all women's show.
Yes.
So, fine. But Bharat Gyan that way also has been a wonderful journey, and it was both our ideas together.
Mm-hmm.
And see, I was an IT professional, like you just introduced me earlier. And he has been a marketing professional. He was in business and then a marketing professional as well. And we both used to travel a lot. We both conscientiously decided that we will keep India as our base, though we had, the scope to relocate. But we said, no, we will keep India as our base and keep traveling and widening our horizons, both on work and personal grounds. And every journey was an eye opener. We would go, we would get to learn about, we traveled to quite a few places. I think that was some grace, like our work was taking us to different, in fact, at a point in time, we would say, oh, let's watch this movie, because every time we watched a movie, we would end up going to that country. It was just happening like that.
Wonderful.
Some movie, which was shot in some foreign locale, and then we would end up find ourselves in that, not intentional at all.
Wonderful.
Then, so each of that showed us how different countries, different cultures were showcasing their civilizations. And the way they were making it interesting, very engaging.
Mm.
And this was around the year 2000. We had been around quite a bit, and we were kind of feeling that there is not much that way in India for Indians themselves to go and visit, or for foreigners if they come here to go and visit. There are those huge monuments,
Yes.
but then the story is missing. And no doubt it is a very long story. It's a long history, not just story alone. So it's a long history, and therefore no wonder it's also a challenge to
Yes.
kind of put it in one place.
Yes.
But even then, what was being showcased was not sufficient, is what we felt. And then we were beginning to ask questions. So we said, let's come and showcase. When we go back to India, let's go and try and showcase India. But then when we came here, the kind of questions, see, to showcase, then you say, okay, what is this? What is that? So like you said, Rama and Krishna, for us also, they are our gods.
Yes.
So they are in our puja room in every different form and with every different name. In fact, just now, when the Ayodhya Shilanyas was there, we were on air on one of the channels, and we were talking about how one family deity for us is Vijay Raghava, which is one name of Rama, and the other one is Veera Raghava, which is yet another name of Rama. So, they form part and parcel of our religious identity.
Yes.
But at the same time, everybody says they are historical. See, look at this whole thing, the strife has been to build a temple at his birthplace.
Yeah.
The moment you say it is his birthplace, that means you're also acknowledging that he has been a person. As a historical person, he has lived on this earth, he has taken birth. So what is this contradiction? On one side you say he is God and he's religious and he's so divine, and the other side you say, oh, he was born in this particular place, therefore I want to build something here. So this pull, so these kind of questions started coming to us, and the more we started finding some clue to one, it would lead to another one.
Yep.
So it was never getting complete. It took us almost 10 years to just start putting all the pieces together, and they were all fitting beautifully like a jigsaw.
Mm-hmm.
And so at that stage, we were just holding the vessel like under a tap.
Yes.
So the tap was continuously open, and we would, as and when we kept getting the data, we would keep creating that picture.
Yes.
And after 10 years, we started writing books. Because initially we were not confident enough, because if we wrote something, there were 10 more questions for which we had no answer. So we had to keep going. The problem is, lot of the information about India is either in ancient texts, or it is in our customs, or it is with our scholars, some literary scholars, some religious scholars, and there are various traditions. And and some are in the monuments, the archaeological monuments.
Yeah.
And all of these are unfortunately very disjoint today.
Yes.
There is no string that is connecting all of them and presenting it. See, even if we talk archaeology or history, we remove all the other aspect from it. We remove the culture, we remove the customs, we remove the ethos of the land.
True.
So you really don't get a complete picture. And therefore, it took us a while to kind of feel a little confident to speak about all aspects. See, we are not historians. Therefore, we call Bharat Gyan a civilizational study. It is a study of our civilization, and also it connects with all the other ancient civilizations of the world.
Yes.
So that is how we call our work. And so we try to look at it from all perspectives, from ethos, from religions and culture, from industry, history, the geography, everything, their achievements, the kind of accomplishments they have had, the advancement, the progress they had made, their knowledge base, all of that. And it's been a long journey. For the last 10 years, we have been churning out books, and we call them autobiography of India.
That's nice.
Because we are India.
Yeah.
I mean, each generation is what India is all about.
Yes.
So if we are writing about our land, it is like our own autobiography. So we call the entire collection Autobiography of India. And so we've been we brought out about 35 books in print and on Kindle, and lot more, about 60 odd as e-books, which are there on our website.
Mhm.
for people to read when they come visit our website as it is.
Super. So I like the very fact. I heard your interview on Doordarshan during this Ayodhya Shilanyas,
All right.
and I also happen to know how proudly Doctor was telling that his birthplace belongs to Jatayu's.
Yes.
I think
That is
Nirvana
the
place.
place where Jatayu Rama
Milan
did
happened.
dahan for Jatayu.
Jatayu,
And
yes.
very beautiful. Look at how our ancestors, see in that temple, they have given the details, attention to detail.
Mhm.
There you will see Rama, and you will
Mhm.
see normally, Rama, as they show him as Vishnu anyway,
Yes.
by the name Vijay Raghava. And usually his spouse, who is on one side,
Mhm.
on this right, she would have shifted to they would have swapped sides.
Okay.
And Bhudevi will be close to him rather than Sri Devi,
Uh-huh.
because she is bearing the brunt of the heat of the fire
Fire. Oh,
when Rama is doing the dahan.
done.
So that much of story is there in just the Vigraha Murti over there.
Lovely. Uh, that's wonderful. And another question I want to know from you. This little, a lot of thought has gone into this question. So don't say that I'm asking this.
No
What is
issue.
the scope of your research? Reason being, across India, from north to south, every house, every alternate house has a Ramcharitmanas or Ramayana at home, Mahabharat for that matter, Bhagavad Gita. So people are aware of this epic side, of course, but it's from more from a divinity point of view. And I like the sentence from your discussion in Doordarshan, wherein I made a note of it as well. So I said,
Oh my God,
divinity
there's
is
so
a
many
matter of
good.
faith, and
Yes.
historicity is a matter of existence. And you are trying to blend both and then present the data to older and new generation to know their country in a better way, or I would say more convenient way, which they can relate to, rather than just listening to my aji and old stories, which mostly made to convince me to eat something or behave certain way rather than telling me my stories when I was a kid rather. So my question is, why do you think that you are telling something different when everybody thinks, or at least they're under the impression that they know epic and history very
See, we all know our epics very well because they are part of us. They are our God. They are the people we talk to.
well?
Like
Yes,
you said, you have your long list. I mean, nobody can be closer to you than your own gods.
yes,
So they are our gods.
yes,
And we celebrate them.
yeah,
We celebrate their birthdays,
yeah.
and we are filled with, so we also know their life story.
Hmm.
So we are talking about, when we say Ramayana, we talk about the journey of Rama, his travails, and all his emotions. And our generation that way, I don't know whether it's fortunate or unfortunate. In earlier times, they would only have the literature and they were left to their own imagination. Now we see them on screen also, and we have given them a face. So for us, for the younger generation today, Rama means so and so kind of person as well. But given that, anyway, we find that we all are very familiar. But one point when it comes to issues of accepting them as historical, when it comes especially at a civilizational or national level, when it comes to issues like this, then we find, personally, each of us believe he is historical. But when it comes to larger issues, then there is a doubt that creeps in.
Hmm.
Oh, is he really historical? Is
Hmm.
really that place his birthplace?
Yeah.
Did he really come here? Did he really go there? Did he
Yes,
really
yes,
do this?
yes.
And all this is because in the last about 200, 300 years,
Yes.
we have been burdened by one English word,
Mm-hmm.
which is mythology.
Yes.
That mythology, even today, for everybody, the first word that comes when you talk about Rama, Krishna, and all is mythology.
Yes, yes.
And the word mythology, if you look at the origin, it
Mm-hmm.
comes from the Greek word mythos. And
Ah.
they all have the root underneath that is the word myth.
Right.
And in Indian languages, you have mithya,
Yes.
which means it's
Ah.
figment of imagination, it's exaggeration, it is untrue, it's not a fact fundamentally. So, so by saying, repeating to ourselves mythology, mythology, we ourselves subconsciously we have moved them away from the realm of truth
Yes.
into just imagination.
True.
But whereas the same epic, we ourselves say they are itihasa.
Correct.
All of us call it itihasa.
Yes.
But not for a moment would we ever have paused to reflect back on the word itihasa. What does it mean? It actually, even if you break it up, and we all know itihasa is history. That is how we know in schools. That is what it is taught as. History is itihasa.
Yes.
But we don't connect. We don't connect Ramayana and Mahabharata. These are the only two works which are called itihasa. The others are not itihasa, because those authors themselves have said that it is itihasa. And the word itihasa means iti-ha-asa, which means it does happen.
It does happen. Okay.
So the authors themselves say that this is how it happened, and therefore it is your itihasa. And they have carefully handed it down across generations. But the last 200, 300 years, when the British were trying to understand the Indian civilization, and they were writing the history of the civilization. Now, why were they doing that? See, there were two people called James Mill and Charles Grant.
Okay.
So they were appointed by the British administration to write the history of India, so that when British officers are coming from Britain to India, they can be taught about India before they step on the Indian soil.
I see.
So these people write about the history of India, and when they write, they
write from their point of view.
They write from their point of view, and not only that, they also have a glass ceiling.
Yep.
See, that is the period. See, they have just come out of a period around 1600s, 1500s, 1600s. In Europe, the prevalent thought was creation. The world was created only in 4004 BC. So that was a scientific thought then. See, it was only in 1600s they came to realize that the earth is round, science was developing, and all of that. But so until then, there was this clash between, and prior to that, therefore, the church thought was that world was created in 4004 BC. So when these people were coming to India and they were hearing about these personages who have lived so many, so many millions. If you even today, if you ask people, they'll say, "Oh, yug is millions of years."
Yes.
They didn't know what to do. They couldn't grapple with it. So that is why they first dubbed it as mythology, because they said, "Oh, this is so far back. It can't. It must just be some imaginative story." And secondly, they made it a point, therefore, to create a history for India and say that these are the kind of, and all these sources, these books, kind of books, you will come across them. They are all mythologies. None of these books are actually worth even half the history of, there are quotes like that. If you really look at their quotes, none of them are worth half the literature of England and so on, half the history of our side. So when they come, and then, the mood then got set in, and we have today, unfortunately, still not shed the baggage.
True.
So while we regard it as an epic, while internally we know it is our history, when it comes to issues in the open, we shy away from admitting it to be our history. We call it mythology. We call it
yes.
And we don't stand up for it then.
Makes sense. Makes a lot of sense. And I am really amazed to know the kind of detailing you have gone into in this entire process. Super. Now, I have another doubt in my mind. From the culture point of view, itihas, as you said, what has changed from the Bharat, let's say, pre-independent era, and now? How do people look at this? As I said earlier, was it more of a mythology? And now it is more of awareness to get into the detailing. Like, as you say, we are building a temple in Ayodhya. The very belief is Sri Rama was born here. Whatever years let the mathematicians calculate it, but we know that this is a place, and we celebrated big way that after 500 years we got the land, and we are happily building a temple and making a excellent monument for the future generation, which is our belief. Now, do you think that now the generation is more alert, more aware, or you think the earlier people were more knowledgeable? What is your take on this?
Okay. I will go even a little earlier.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so before this 200, 300 years also.
Sure.
So until then, there was no doubt about all of this, all about our traditional texts. People knew what it was. This 200, 300 years was a churn where a lot of illiteracy has also crept in.
Yes,
and
invaders.
people were busy fighting. The freedom struggle was such a movement.
Yeah.
There was no time to, pick up these issues at that during that generations. And after we got our freedom, also again we were in a different mode of working. Already baggage of mythology and a baggage of more of socialism and ideas where you have to the focus was just building of India. But of course again the choice of path can be debated. But whatever said and done, there was a lot of other influence, outside influences again, which curbed our focus on these kind of works and these ideas.
Yeah.
Then and you had to rely on published works from official government. So it became a very kind of a regime kind of a thing, where unless those kind of works come out, you do not get access to enough information about such ideas. So what is said there is what you get exposed to.
Yes.
So that was the kind of window we have lived in for a while. In fact, even in 2000, when we started working on Bharat Gyan, it was difficult to get access to these kind of information. Not much was written and published enough. We also had to rely a lot on records left by the British, which some authors, some good souls had kind of collected. Like one of them is Sri Dharampal ji, and there were many others who were working subsequent, and some others, who have lived even in Western soil, who wanted to look at India, in a holistic manner, their jottings. So all of this, we had to rely on these kind of work. But one thing which has happened in the last 20, 25 years, ever since social media has come up,
yes,
is the access to this kind of wealth of information, which is actually there with every individual of the land. That is finding a free expression. Even if you, in fact, if you see this historicity of Rama or Krishna, till date, it is still not the official historians who are putting this down in the historical domain. It is still something that is being brought out, which is being worked upon, researched, collected, corroborated, everything only by individuals. Private individuals who are working on this. Individuals meaning private organizations.
Yes, yes.
It is still not the official historic account yet of India.
Okay.
Which is very sad.
Very
Things
sad.
like Saraswati River and Rama, Krishna have still not become the official account of our civilization.
I see.
And but in social media, it's creating a lot of flutter, which is why many people have now become aware.
True.
And it is reaching many more. And the beauty is the younger generation who therefore do not have this baggage and are getting exposed to this straight away. They are so into, I tell you, every session of Bharat Gyan, everywhere we go and speak, it is the youngsters, and they are such an inspiration to us. They are really very into, they are very positive, they're keen to know, they're keen to share, they're keen to contribute.
Yes.
And this is across disciplines. It's not like, only arts or this faculty or sciences. I mean, it's across sciences, engineering, management, arts, commerce. All the students are equally interested because this is their roots, their identity.
True.
And this is something that their parents couldn't fill them in on.
Yes, yes.
Because their parents in turn, came with the baggage. So it was there, but now it is opening up. The baggage is slowly being taken away. So the sooner this becomes our official narrative,
Mhm.
this will be, it will really make a big difference.
Difference, definitely. How many lectures have you given as of now?
Oh my God. I don't know. Now, lectures now they have changed, they have morphed. Instead
Okay.
of being a platform stage lecture, now they've all become webinars.
Uh-huh.
Almost every day we are on one webinar or the other. And over time, actually, we started, when we started compiling, for the first 10 years, like I told you, we were in a compiling mode.
Mm.
We used to give a lot of talks then.
Mhm.
And the fora were very different. It would be academic research institutes, it would be social groups as well, and also scholarly groups. I mean, the traditional Pandit scholars, that kind of,
Yes, yes,
and
yes,
conferences. The
yes.
thing was with each of these,
Yeah.
since there were so many questions in every talk and
Mm.
every such conferences and all, it would get ratified.
Mhm.
We would get more inputs as well, and that is how the whole thing grew. And so if you take from there, it's been like hundreds of talks. We've lost count.
Nice. So, are you a big team of researchers or is just two of you?
See, we are, the two of us are
Driving
compiling and
force.
stringing it together.
Mm-hmm.
But we could not have come this far without the network of scholars who have helped us. I mean,
That's
when I
true.
say scholars, I mean modern, traditional,
Yeah.
and many other people.
So, how
And
do you
all
approach
their
them,
works
Akka?
as well. Sorry?
How do you approach them?
How do we approach them? It one leads to another,
Okay.
like you meet, and fundamentally we used to attend a lot of conferences.
Okay.
So in
Okay.
conferences you go, and then you see so and so is working on
Yes.
such an
Yes.
area, then
Yes.
you
Yes.
stay in
Yes.
touch, and
Yes.
so on.
Yes.
So
That's how
that's
you.
how we kind of networked. And we sometimes like we literally get under their skin with some of our questions. Why not this? And then they very patiently they'll answer.
Huh.
They'll say, look at this way, that way. And so we try to ask from the perspective of the present generation itself.
Wonderful.
And like what I call as normal human beings, we
Yes.
normal human beings.
Yes. Yes.
So those scholars come back with the perspective in which we are asking the question,
Yes.
and the
Yes.
perspective in which we want data.
True. Uh, for some time, I am
But
part.
one thing I must tell you, uh,
Definitely.
there has been divine grace.
I was about to ask that.
Oh, okay. See, that's
It's
also,
okay. I was
see,
about to ask the same thing because,
yeah,
as they say, if the efforts are in the right direction for Jana Kalyan purpose,
yes, yes,
you get things work in your way, and you get
yeah. I
support
get
from
goosebumps, when I
enormous
think of it.
forces which make it happen really successfully with
Yes.
little glitches, but that's okay, which we can handle. And but I was about to ask you, do you think Sri Rama and Sri Krishna is blessing you enough to take it forward?
Why only Sri Ramakrishna? All the
All the
gods are
gods.
helping.
Okay.
All Mother Nature is helping.
Uh,
See, the thing is, every time we used to get a question,
mhm,
we would invariably meet somebody
mhm,
who would give us a lead to
hmm,
that question.
hmm.
And then, when you go further, anytime, every time we've had a doubt, or we've gone to a library, and, we're just looking at the books, interesting books, and then suddenly you just pick up a book and you just flip, open and say, what is this book like? And you will see you'll be on a page where it's exactly what you were looking for.
Looking for, yes.
So they have
That's
never come in person. I think, I don't know. Hope one day we get to see a site like that. But they have come in all these various forms, and given us these kind of leads, and taken us along the path.
yes.
So divine grace, and we have interacted with so many of the leaders, spiritual leaders, uh, in early days. We have met many of them,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
each of them has given their blessings and so much of their knowledge, and it's amazing. Our land is full of such wisdom.
True.
You just have to take the bowl,
Uh-huh.
then it will be filled up automatically. But you have to make the effort to take the bowl and take those few steps.
Yes. Ask for the GAN.
Yes.
Wonderful. I think I will ask just one last question and then we'll open for question answer. I know it's really a Gyan Bhandar, lots to share and lots to discuss because our history is rich, our heritage is rich, our culture is rich. And as we say, we are really Jagat Guru. We have lots to share with the entire universe and give a good amount of knowledge, Gyan, and a lot of moral values to people who come in search to our land finally when they want to have a proper Amrut. So there is no doubt that we have lots in our bowl. My question is, now we are talking on the eve of Independence Day today. Tomorrow we are going to have our flag hoisting and the ritual. Unfortunately, due to the pandemic, we are not able to assemble big way the way we do every year. However, from this particular point of view, like my land, my culture, my country, my mythology, my history, in every way, from freedom struggle to God and goddesses of my religion and education system. Do you think we are still looking forward to that Swaraj, which we have not seen as of now, which we dream for every year, but we are yet to reach there?
See, actually, what we do every year on Independence Day, we post this article in our blog.
Uh-huh.
And each year we take it one step forward.
Okay.
See, fundamentally, we in 1947, on August 15th, we got Swaraj.
Mm-hmm.
Bal Gangadhar Tilak ji, he had said, Swaraj is my birthright and
Yes.
I shall have it.
Yes.
And we did, and they all together ensured that we got it.
Yes.
So on 15th August, we got our Swaraj. Now, and we have been celebrating subsequently, we have been celebrating this day as Swatantrata Divas.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
But look at these two words, okay? Swaraj and Swatantrata.
Mm-hmm.
So Swaraj, if you really look at it, it means Swaraj.
Yes.
That means I am ruling myself. I am free.
Mm-hmm.
I am free to rule myself.
Mm-hmm.
Now look at the word Swatantra. Swatantra actually translated to freedom.
Yes.
But freedom, what does freedom mean? Freedom means, yes, Swarajya is freedom as freedom from being bound and being under somebody.
Yes.
But real freedom means you are free to do what you like. Live the way you want to. Do things the way that are innate to you, that are natural to you. So for a nation, so if that is for an individual, what is it for a nation? So for a nation, Swatantrata really means that the nation is free to live, or I mean to flourish, conduct itself in a manner which is innate to itself, which is the way it wants to, which is to its benefit, which is to its strengths, using its own ways, methods, which its ancestors have done for so many years before.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, we haven't come or even started thinking in that mode. For instance, I mean, a very, very basic thing will be the innate Indian ethos or way is to think of prosperity.
Yep.
Wealth generation in a very dharmic way, though.
Yep.
So Artha was never bad.
Yes.
Artha, Kama, both were there, but never bad because they were tempered with Dharma.
Dharma, yes.
Right? So we have always focused on prosperity, and wealth generation has been the motto of the Indian civilization, which is why we were one of the most prosperous civilizations for many millennia, and we have been able to sustain and continue ourselves so far.
Yep.
However, the focus after immediately as soon as we got independence, much of our focus has been on poverty than prosperity. So we started focusing on prosperity, how to remove prosperity, how to look after, how to remove poverty, how to look after the poor. So rather than focusing on how can I generate more wealth so that automatically the poor will be taken care of, how the poverty will be taken away from the land. I'm just saying this is, see, the steps may be similar, they're just two faces, two sides of the same coin, but your mental thought process.
Yes.
You focus more on prosperity, you generate prosperity.
Yes.
So there are so many such innate Indian ways of approaching issues, approaching problems.
Yes.
Decentralization is one of the very innate Indian ethos
Absolutely.
compared to centralization,
Yeah.
which was a British ethos
Yes.
and which we were left with, which has continued subsequently.
Yes.
So there are so many such different things which
Yeah.
Indians have done very differently for so many millennia, because that is their strength.
Yeah.
And that unfortunately we haven't realized, seen for ourselves, and brought it into a conscious way of doing things. We may be doing it, but more like in a haphazard manner, but not very consciously and understanding the value of it. So when we do that, that is when we will be really swatantra. And the beauty of it is, which we will now realize in present times, because we are going through this pandemic, all of us are realizing how, especially with the lockdown, how it was so essential to have been self-reliant.
Yes, and decentralized also.
Yes, decentralized, self-reliant, because your own locality, the moment it became red zone, you knew you had to only live within that.
Yes.
No stepping out also.
Yes.
Whereas if you look at what the British and all have written, they've said every little panchayat itself, village panchayat,
is
was
self-sufficient.
a republic in its own.
True. True.
So that kind of self-reliance will come when you become swatantra automatically. So we are saying that Swarajya, from there you move to Swatantra, and from there you move to Swavritta.
Yeah.
Self-reliancy.
True.
So that these are the three swas you have to go towards, and that you can do only when you live with your swabhav, when you live naturally with the Indian swabhav.
That's a good thought. That's a really good thought. So I think I do agree with all your the statement that just now you made. We were self-sufficient villages earlier, so there was no need for people to migrate outside and look for earning, and they were happy in their locality or their community. Also, they were Atmanirbhar. What now we are reintroducing, I would say, because Swatantra means that you can live on your own, self-content, self-happy, and self-sufficient to make the journey in your progress and in your future life. I think I have more things to talk about on specific topics. That is, as I said, the Rameshwaram bridge and Dwarka leftovers. We will take those topics in our future session, not today.
Enlightenment, that is bha, light. Then rat. Rat means to relish, to enjoy. Ras, rat. And you know the English word for God of love?
God of love.
What do they call that god? Cupid, right? In Indian stories, who is the god of love? Kamadev, right? Kamadev. You have heard stories of Kamadev?
No.
Kamadeva. Kamadeva, Kama. Okay. So his wife is actually Rati, because she is delightful. See, a god of love, and he has a spouse. He has a wife who is pleasurable, who is full of something, who gives you pleasure when you even look at her. She is that much enchanting, right? So look at how they have paired gods and goddesses also. So Rati, Ratta means to enjoy, to relish, to take pleasure. So what does Bharat mean? It means a land where people take pleasure in knowledge. So in knowledge, so people seek knowledge, people relish knowledge, people take pleasure in getting to know more and more. They have this urge, they have this seeking in them. So that is Bharat. That is why we have so many kings who were called Bharat. So that is why Rama's brother was Bharat. You have Shakuntala Dushyant's son who was Bharat. So many Bharats. They are all named because they are all supposed to be relishers of knowledge.
Attendance and your knowledge, a lot of that I got to know from you today. starting from the history written by Britishers and many more facets which I never knew about, and I'm sure the audience also. So formally, I want to say dhanyawad to you, and
Thank
I
you so
would be really honored if I can help you somewhere in your research work. Of course, I'm not as patient and as knowledgeable as you,
No,
but
no,
I
we all started. We also started. I mean, there is always somewhere to start, and then the journey grows.
true.
So we would
So I
very
really want to
happy.
extend my helping hand, if at all I can be in future sometime. And with this, I really want to say thanks to you, Hemaji. All the best for your enormous work. This is really great work. Thinking about our history in such a way is a definitely a new phase which people would love to know, and it is very enriching for the future generation. So thank you once again.